You've asked for a tale involving the weather. And I'll tell you this tale as it was told to me by Columba. Now, Columba, or as the Romans call him, Santos Columbanus, was exiled from Ireland as a young man. Spent his life among the heathen Picts of northern Scotland, founding monasteries and spreading the gospel. But that has little to do with the story, for I merely tell the story as he told it to me. And it's a bit of a miraculous story, as you might expect from one who, after he died, they call a saint. But it's a bit of a miraculous story, and it does involve the weather, but the miracle really isn't so much about the weather as the fact that, if I can give it away, at the end of the tale, a fisherman speaks the truth. Many years ago, in the kingdom of Galilee, there lived a holy man named Jesus. And Jesus was anointed by God with the gift of healing, for at his touch the blind could see, the deaf could hear, the crippled would be made whole, and the dead were raised to life. Now, Jesus was wildly popular with the people, as you might expect, and not only with the sick, but also with the healthy, for he was a great one for the walking and the talking. He'd wander the whole length and breadth of the kingdom of Galilee, telling stories and posing riddles, and in general teaching the people. And there was always a great multitude that followed him about. And they followed him about to, of course, be healed by his touch, and to be wizened by his words, and to be comforted by his presence. Well, it came to pass that, out of this great multitude, there were 62 that were his close boon companions, and were never separated from him. And as they walked along, one day they came to the shores of Loch Galilee, and they wished to cross over to the other side. Well, now, 3 of the 12 were fishermen. Now, those were namely Seamus and Sean McGevdy, and Sheeman, who is called Peter. Now, the 3 of them, Seamus and Sean and Peter, being fishermen and known by sight, name, and reputation, all the other fishermen along that part of the shore of Loch Galilee, well, it was no great difficulty to secure the services of a Curragh to carry them across the loch. And so they did, and so they climbed aboard and off they set. Now, Loch Galilee is no mean loch. She's wide, and she's braid, and she's deep, and is most of a day's journey to cross by coracle. And it being a fine day, they were about halfway across when the entire party was asleep, save for Seamus and Sean on the sails, and Peter at the tiller. Well, it was about this time that the wind began to freshen, and some clouds began to drift over, and the wind began to pick up, and the clouds begin to get thicker, and lower, and blacker, and deeper. And the wind began to blow right smartly now, and then the rain began to fall, and then the storm hit in earnest, the lightning flashed, and the thunder roared, the wind blew up the waves as high as the masthead, the rain came down like sling stones, the little Curragh was rocking to and fro, Seamus and Sean were hauling down the sheets, trying to keep the sail from being torn from the mast, Peter was straining at the tiller, trying to keep the nose of the little boat into the waves so they wouldn't be swamped. Every man aboard was bailing for his life, except for Judas, who was puking over the side. And as they're playing in the sun, and then Peter looks down at his feet and sees, curled up on the deck, snoring away, is Jesus sleeping the sleep of the blessed. Well, Peter reaches back his foot, and he gives him a mighty kick in the ribs and says, "Wake up and turn to, you bloody fool! Can you see there's a gale on and we're all about to be drowned?" Well, Jesus cocks an eye up at him, and he stands up in the wildly pitching boat, drenched with the rain. And he looks at Peter, and he yawns, and he stretches, and he rubs a bruise on his side. And he looks at Peter and says, "Och, man, where's your faith? What cause have ye to be afeard of a wee bit of rain and wind when I am here with ye?" And as if to prove a point, he stretches out his hands, and he says to the wind, "Be still." And he says to the sea, "Be calm." And even as he spoke, the roaring wind died down to a lamb's breath. And the raging seas, as high as mountains, were as calm as a new-mown hayfield. And the rain stopped. and the clouds cleared away. And Peter looked at his master, and fell down on his knees in the soggy bottom of the boat, and he said, "Truly, my Lord, thou art the only Son of the Most High God." And don't you know that was a great miracle, for it was then a fisherman spoke the truth.